Hello. It's Thursday. It's time for Monopoly, Forceopoly. And you can't do that on Salesforce. I think my scratch org is going to disappear here at any moment, but I was able to salvage everything that we've been working on. I get it up into the source code repository. Today we're going to work on these board steps. So if you weren't here last week, I was feeling really good about things because we built the title deed, built a Lightning Web component for the title deed for properties. So it looks like this. Cool, right? Cool. Yep. What I was building this the entire time with not even realizing that this is what we were building. I thought this was going to be the property steps or spaces on the board. This is not that. This is the piece of paper that you get when you buy something. So we also need to build a Lightning Web component for the property space on the board, and then we can build a board. I started by building a board with these, which is completely wrong. So let's see if we can get to that. We need a Lightning Web component to do that. Start with. Yeah, we have a board component now that inappropriately renders all of the property. These are really, I should probably change the name of this to like title deed or something like that, but let's make a new Lightning Web component called, I'll call it property board space. Sure. Let's go with that. Okay, I think it did the thing. We gotta go find what these look like. Let's find one on the internet. Okay, so find us a picture of a Monopoly board that's not on Amazon and doesn't force me to buy it. This is a custom Monopoly board, it says. All right, so pretty straightforward, right? If we're looking at Atlantic Avenue, which was the, or Piccadilly Circus, as it may be, pretty straightforward. We just need the color at the top, which is where the hotels and houses go, and we need the name, and we need the amount that it sells for. So this should be a little easier than what we made for the title deed. We'll have to adjust this for different properties, again, with those rules that we have for the different record types. So we're just going to do the property for now, and then we'll figure out some of the other ones, figure those out later. Okay. So here's our property board space, and I'm going to just steal some stuff from the property. In fact, we probably could reuse some of this. I hesitate to make it all the same component. I think that'll just get real nasty. But let's, nonetheless, we can use some of these querying the property by ID. Certainly reuse that. It's most of the data that we need anyway. I think we wired this up so that it would, yeah, it could pass us either the record ID or the property record. That's where we were going to get some reuse out of these, because I can show it on the page, or I can show it on the, yeah, I can show it on the record page, and then I can, and if I do that, I can just use the record ID to get it by ID, or I can pass the property record in completely, which is what we want to do on the board page, because it's going to query everything out anyway. So let's go here, and we're going to need that, and let's see what else we can steal from our property. We'll do our usual init and stuff. Okay, we got a property record. So property board space component initialized. And we'll figure out some styling here in a second. I guess I probably shouldn't set these. Let's do our initted thing in case that comes up. And title style, okay. Title style I don't think we're really using. I gotta remember how that worked in the last one. I think we are using that to drive, well, it drives the color. So, yeah, we have to wire that. I feel like there's a whole library. Somebody's had to have written some kind of library that manages inline styling for Lightning Web Components, and I'm just totally missing the boat on that. But in the meantime, we got what we need here. Cool. Save that, and then let's go to the properties HTML, because I probably can just steal that also. And back to our board space. Okay, so, oh, we got to some CSS too. Let's plan to do that also. Property board space.css. Cool. I'm going to just take all this. Right, so we ran into the other, I was trying to be clever and do some CSS variables, and I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but the host would apply to all of the components on the page, not independently. I'm sure there's another reference for that that makes it work better, but haven't figured that out yet. So maybe we'll do some research on that, because I would love, I think my ticket to non-annoying inline JavaScript like this is to just be able to set CSS variables from the JavaScript instead of having to write entire CSS styles like this, which is no fun in my opinion. But we'll see what we can do there. Okay. So we've stolen everything from property over to property board space. Let's see how this is we've got a card. We defined a card. I think we can still keep that. There isn't really a title. There's kind of like the, color box at the top, which has some style applied to it. We can do some selectors and at least kind of do the style setting through JavaScript instead of just writing out strings. That does not actually have a title or a name. It just has a big old hunk of color. So we'll call that the color box. And then the body is a little bit dumbed down. It's just the name of the property, which I probably had as a merge field here somewhere. I'd like to get that back. Here we go. Property name. I'm going to put that inside of, don't really even need the whole thing. Let's just grab this. And we have this at the top. And what do we have toward the bottom? We have the price. So we don't need a whole lot of this. Although my price is probably in here somewhere. What is price? We have a class here that gets us the property cost. That's what it's called. Okay. So we don't need to display these two things. One needs to be at the top, one needs to be at the bottom. Figuring out the figuring that out will be something. And that's about it. We have to figure out the pukey green color that is the Monopoly board. We'll do that later. So save that. Oops. I have a feeling that my scratch org just went away. No, it's saved. We're still alive. I guess it recognized that the CSS was there, but it wasn't included in that payload for whatever reason, so send it again. Okay. All right, we got our stuff there. Let's drag this out onto the. Oh, we got to fix the meta stuff. I think the meta stuff for this looks a lot like this one, so I'm just gonna steal it again. Only use it on record pages. It is exposed. Let's edit this page and see if we can get this out here with it. Then it's really just a styling exercise, I think, from here. Yep. Oh, we are Winter 23ified in our Scratch org. That's exciting. We can some sweet new flow stuff that might make life easier for building flow that maybe we'll get into a little bit. All right, let's see. Stuff we don't need. We don't need it to say deed title. So we can take that out. The card itself, if I look at the styling here, I don't think we need any padding. Just go right to the edges. We need something called a color box, right? If I did that height as a, can I do that height as a percentage of the whole? Let's just make it a physical size for right now. And then that will have a background color that we'll set. I think it needs a bottom border that is the same as this. I think I fixed my internet problems too. Turns out I had a bad internet, Ethernet adapter. Things are moving much faster now. How does this look? Gotta save this too. We don't need this, right? Color box is just kind of a spacer. Okay. Let's make a name and a cost. It's not really equal thirds, right? It's kind of like maybe it's the top is 20. Is it quarters? Is it equal quarters? I guess we could try that. We try equal quarters. So we'll say the top is, we did 100. I think that's a little big. If I made the card if I made a card 100% of the height of the space it takes up, I wonder what that would do. And if we made the height of the color box 25% in that, the height of the name probably could just pull these out, right? We don't really need a body. We could just have the name and the cost be at the same level as the box. See what this does. Nope. Does not seem to care about height, so that's okay. We'll just give it a height, I guess. See if the rest kicks in from there. Alright, yeah, not bad. If I say the min height is 250, but then the height is 100%, what is that? Does that do anything? No, that's not what we're after. Alright, say min height 250, and then everything's a percentage after that. And then we gotta do a little styly stuff here, right? I'm sneaking a peek at the icon inventory code over here because I know we've got some of this. Oh wait, I don't need to open the Scratchwork for that. I just need the code. Alright, so when this loads, this is pretty much a read-only component. I got too many things open. I'll come back to the board in a second. I love it when I try to click on something and then I miss. Okay, so we want to find... what are we looking for? We're looking for dot color box, and then we want to make that element's background color of whatever we got here. There we go. How'd we do? Did something wrong. I think whatever I'm looking for, I am not selecting it successfully. Let's see, should that, I think that should get me what I'm looking for. Query selector, right? First element that matches the selector, which yeah. Okay. Let's do that up here. Color box, right? Is that what I called it? Yeah, that's what I called it. Time for debug. Are we getting the color box? It says that is null. I feel like this is... Yeah, this is because it hasn't rendered yet. Right? I think we have to do this in the rendered callback instead of the connected callback. I think. I think that's the problem. Let's try it. I think that's the problem. We're trying to apply rendering. We're trying to find access an element that hasn't rendered yet. So we're not going to re-render this component. So I'm not too concerned about it hitting that, hitting this code over and over again. If it was something more reactive, I wouldn't just blam this stuff into rendered callback because it gets called every time you render, but we'll get away with it here. I think, if this is actually the problem. I'm pretty sure our selection is right otherwise. But if we're not getting anything back from that selector, there's nothing rendered at that stage. So let's see if we dip in here after we do. And then if I check my console again, still null. That's strange. So is there something going on in our template that I'm just missing? This is clearly rendering, so let's let this play a little bit more. I don't know if it's going to hit that step multiple times or. Okay. Well, let's do a null check, because maybe it's going to hit that a few times before it actually... Try that. We'll let the dog out. little smaller so we can see a little more here. Element is null, element is null. Aha, element is not null. Okay. Interesting how many times it actually renders or re-renders, as it were. Did we find what we were looking for? I think so. Let's see if it actually sets it. Yes, it did. Cool. Okay. Now, can we position, let's just take a quick look here, inspect this. I feel like we could do an absolute center in each of these to get these positioned a little more and make the font a little bigger, because why not? So maybe let's make it 2 rem for the whole card, and then let's put a SLDS. There's a center alignment here. Inside of those, yeah, absolute center. We'll make the height 100% of each of those two. How are we looking? A little better. Let's see, how do you do all caps in CSS? Font variant, is that right? Capitalize. Text transform. Text transform. And let's put a $sign in front of our money, and then on the name we will text transform capitalize, right? There we go. Okay. Not bad, but why isn't my font capitalized? Oh, it's not, it's uppercase. There we go. That should look a little better. All right, and I think we've got yay, Atlantic Avenue, $260. Okay, now we can put that in our board, right? Which I think if I go to a game, that's hanging out here real ugly. Yep. So I started to make the board with the title deeds, which made me realize that we do what we needed to do. We needed a title deed, but we certainly didn't need it to be the board. And as you can see, and we'll see again in a second, you know, we're going to make property spaces for Go and for a couple other ones, which I think actually, so that's probably useful info on the properties themselves, because maybe, you know, it might be easy to just say that we have a position, and if we position mod 10, I think that will tell us if it's on a corner or not. So we can we need to lay those out differently. They need a different size, and they need a different well, they obviously need a different image in the middle. But first we'll start with, first things first, this is wrong, so let's go to the board and we'll change this to property board space. And then the property record is the same thing that we're passing in. So you can see here we're passing in the whole property in this case instead of just the ID. So we can kind of multi-purpose. Over here is when it initializes, it checks to see if the property record is already defined, which in our case it will be, because we're in the case of the board, we're passing it in as a parameter. So we don't want to go get the value. We do still want it to do its render thing and all that good stuff, but this should be a pretty easy swap to a different layout. Okay, that's saved. How's this look now? This isn't doing anything fancy with the layout yet. It's just kind of floating them all to the, you know, to the left. All right. Hey, it's a start. I think we set, did we set a width? Yeah, we set a width on purpose to these. So there's a container that I think if we made maybe the width a little slimmer, maybe 200 instead of 400. Okay. Might have to adjust our text size. Is a little big, but we're kind of there. We've got, let's see, Go is a corner. Let's look over here. So Go is a big corner. I'm going to sneeze. Ooh, excuse me. All right, Go is a corner. Jail. Let's see, community chest doesn't have a doesn't have a color bar. Chance doesn't have a color bar. Railroads and utilities don't have a color bar. They basically replace the color bar with the name of the property. So I think we could probably just get rid of, we can hide color bar in those cases, and maybe adjust the, we would have to adjust the height of the title to take up the slack for the for what's not there. That's pretty much across the board. I mean, the size is a little different, but we could cover, we can take care of railroads, community chest, and chance pretty quick with that minor change. So let's try that. Let's see. Back to property board space. Now we're querying out from LWC property. Let's make sure we're getting the record type information that we need. Yep, we are. Okay. So we can make some decisions about something that needs to become variable now is, should color box even display? And then should, how tall should name be? So by instead of maybe defining the height of name here, I think I want, well, I guess we could define it by default here, and if it needs to change, then we know it needs to change to 75% to compensate for that. I think we can do all that logic at our render step, so we don't want to do anything here. Our next question is if this dot property record dot record type dot name equals something. Probably could do this in a switch statement, but let's go check our property names a second, our record type names. Record types. So the standard one is property. That's what we've already built. And in that case, we're just adjusting the color. I think what we might want to do is say element dot style dot display equals none for this to start. And then we'll bring it back. This is the only case where we actually want the header color block to be there. Otherwise, if it is if it's community chest or chance, let's see, community chest, there's a lot of them here, chance, railroad, or utility, I think. These all take a different shape. Might even need text in this as well. Oops. We'll start here. We want to change, so we want to select a different, probably should, let's do this. Let's call this color box. Let's also Let's query out property name. I think those are the only two things that we're kind of messing with right now. So we're going to hide the color box by default, and if we're dealing with a property, we'll bring it back and we'll color it. Otherwise, we're dealing with a, we want the property names style height to be 75% to compensate. See how we did. Shorter stream today, y'all, because I gotta go at 5. See how we did. Okay, not bad. Go is still a weird one. Chance. We need to move these up a little higher, but we've gotten rid of the top color bar where we need it to go away. I would say that luxury tax and income tax can probably just follow the same rules. And then what's left is just the corners, right? Go, jail. They don't need to show, in the case of the corners, they don't need to show amount. Oh, we don't need to show amount on community chest or chance, right? So we can, so we should grab our, what is that? The cost field, or the cost, property cost. Because we are not going to display that. I think we can do the same thing we did with color box. We can say property box is, well, we can display it by default. It gets displayed in most cases. And then if it's one of I think what we might do is do this. Let this run through different layers, because we want to adjust that height if it's one of these four. Also, if it's community chance or chest. Community chest or chance. we want to hide property cost. And what else did we want to do? Let's add tax to this rule. Oh, and if it is if we get rid of property cost, then we want to make the height of property name even higher to compensate for that. Let's see how we did. And then I'm going to drop the font down a little bit because this is a little too big. Okay, community chest, no cost. Chance, no cost. Neat. Neato. make this like 1.5, I guess. Yep. Then we just have to do the corners. Corners we can, let's see if we can add a field. Do we have one already? We have a position. I guess technically we could just do the logic inside of our code. I think I want to say if position is 0 or let me write out the position a second and make sure that this does make sense. Because for example, is jail 10? Let's see. Jail is 10, and then free parking is 20, go to jail is 30. So if it's what, position mod 10, if position is 0 or position mod 10 is 0, right? Is that how mod works? Let's see, 0, well, what, 10 mod 10 is 0. What's 0 mod 10? 0. 20 mod 10, 0. 30 mod 10, 0. All right, cool. So we can use a position. Yahoo! Are we querying the position? I don't know. Yes. Yes. Okay. Querying the position. So we can go back to our property board space and then say, this is the corner condition, right? If this dot property dot position mod 10 equals 0, then we also hide the property cost. Actually, it's right here, right? We could just do that here. And the other thing we might do is make the whole card wider because it's a corner. Because I think, do we define the height? Our height is 250. I would love to make the component just have height, right? I wish I got to figure out this 100% height thing, because then wherever you put it, it should just fill. I don't know if you want to do that still. We'll leave it at 250. We want to make the width. We want to use this logic still one more time. If this is a corner, then I want to make the I want to make card. Let's see, are we doing that on the board? Yeah, I feel like we are. It might be, well, so maybe we just need to have a property that determines how wide our, if I look at the board, where are you, board? So the board's doing this, saying, hey, everybody float left, and I'll make a container for every property board space, and I'll give it 200 pixels, and I'll float it to the left. Feels like we do need to do that, but we need this to be a little more dynamic depending on what we're dealing with. So I wonder if we don't want to specify I don't want to specify the width here. I think I'd rather do that in my component. I just know that those need to be wider than others. So maybe that's a property that we pass in at some point to, like, what's the base width. For now, we'll put it in card and say width is 200. And if we need to make it wider, to make it square, we need to get our card out. So we're going to make in the case of a corner, we'll make the card width 100%, or no, 250. All right, let's see how we did. Drum roll, please. Cool. I think maybe we want some padding in the field that shows the name so that it'll just wrap nicely. But this is cool. This kind of looks like a Monopoly board. It's a little bit, there's a lot of logic embedded in here, but it's not terrible. The name, let's double check. Where does the name? Is the name where we want to define the? Yeah, I think we want to put the padding on name. Can you use rems? Try it. Whatever I did, I didn't do it right. Maybe that's not enough padding. Let's just talk in pixels for now. There, nope. I'm trying to install. All right, what am I missing here? That's in name. Somewhere we're losing the padding. We're not losing it, it's just not happening. But when it's computed, it says it has no padding. So why is that? Something's overriding that. So the name. I should have 10 pixels of padding. Oh, it's because the word Mediterranean don't care how much padding it's got. It's too long of a word. So, you know, to heck with you. It says it's working, but it doesn't. You know, if you wedge a giant word in there, it's not going to fit no matter what you do. So that's okay. We'll just make the font a little smaller, I guess. Let's go 1.25. And then I think we've got it. This is not a good looking Monopoly board, but it does do everything we need it to do, at least to get started. So the question might be maybe when I'm trying to think, like, it would, you know, can we turn it into the square that it needs to be? It's in order. It's just not right. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe that's a topic for another week. But what did we do today? I think we did what we set out to do. We wanted to get a board space. I said board step. We'll call it board space. We got board space out here. And I wanted to revisit the new game flow, but I don't remember why. That looks a little better now with the font slightly smaller. I think technically the price is smaller than the... is that right? Let's look at... Yeah, it's a little bit. Technically the price is a little bit smaller than the title, but I'm good with this. So I think the next decision is like, what should the board look like? And then now that we've got some board, what can we do in the context of a game, right? This is just like, hey, here's all the properties, go about your merry way, but we would know who's on what board, or what, you know, what, who's on what space in the board in the context of a game. So we can do a little bit of visualization around that, and then probably make a decision about how much board to show. Because if we've got people all over the board, I don't know if it's... I don't think showing the giant square is... Well, maybe that's fine. Maybe we can do a little experiment and figure out how to make it look like the board that it needs to be, which is corners, 10 spaces, and all that jazz. So maybe that's something to look forward to next time we meet. And for now, I'm gonna sign off and say, hey, thanks, and I gotta go to the gym. And then we're going for a long weekend for Labor Day. So I hope everybody has a great holiday, and we'll see you on Tuesday night. Icon inventory. See ya.